Hey everybody, this is Mark, and this is in response to Momo. Hey, how you doing? To Momo's post about manifesting and about abundance. Well, your post wasn't about abundance, although it actually was. It works. It works. It works. It works. It works. I'm going to give you just one very brief, it's not too brief, but I'm going to give you a quick example of it. I didn't, for a long time I didn't know. And just like you, I had a woman in my life who said, hey, you know, this stuff exists, and it was incredibly helpful. I was actually surrounded by people who believed, and I guess I didn't. It wasn't that I didn't believe. It was that I trusted them, and I trusted their opinions. Is that I didn't see any concrete examples of this spiritual aspect of energy and life and being connected and all of that. So I had. Here's just one example. I had a console. For those of you who care about this kind of stuff, it was a Yamaha 2404, a nice old live console. Big, heavy sucker, man. It's so big I could just barely lift it myself. Had a road case, it was like... and I needed a better console. I needed one that... I have a lot of MIDI gear, and I also have a bunch of digital audio tracks. I needed more channels, and I needed better tone controls, and I needed a quieter console, because the 2404 is not exactly quiet. But I had no money. I was broke, and so I started doing research on consoles, trying to find something that was mid-range in price, but that had what I wanted, 48 channels and all of that. And in the meantime, I took the console that I had and I put it up on Craigslist. I didn't ask a lot of money for it. I didn't pay a lot of money for it. And I found this console. It's called a Yamaha RM800, and it's got 48 channels. People who know them love them. Very, very quiet console, right? Only problem was this was 2006. They stopped making them in the early 90s, and they didn't make a tremendous number of them. I searched eBay. I found one of them. Somebody was asking an absurd amount of money for it, which was just out of the question. But I still kept, going. Well, maybe I can find one, and I actually found a copy of the manual online in PDF form, and I printed it out, brought it upstairs to my sleeping loft, and I'm sitting there going through the manual, and I'm seeing myself, I'm seeing myself connecting my equipment to it, and seeing it being what it is that I need. And lo and behold, within a week's time, a guy puts one up on Craigslist. Somebody else buys my old console and is thrilled to get it, by the way, because it's exactly what he wanted. But I find one, this guy puts one up on Craigslist after I have this whole printing out the manual and visualizing myself using it. And I call the guy up and I talk to him about it, and I explain, I tell him what's going on. I said nothing about money, didn't ask him to cut a price or anything, And he turns to me on the phone and says, you know what? Knock $300 off the price. It's sitting in my office here. It's just collecting dust. I'm not using it. I want to see it go to somewhere where somebody's going to love it and use it. And so, without me asking, he cuts $300 off the price. So in the end, I actually made money selling my old console, right? And here it is. Here is my beautiful Yamaha RM800 recording mixer. And the most beautiful part is what it enabled me to do was this. I'm not going to be terribly self-promotional now, but it allowed me to do this. It allowed me to, at the ripe old age of, I don't want to say how old I am, 45 years old. At the ripe old age of 45, I finished my first album, 19 tracks. And it's funny because it's called New Eye. See, it's a new burning eye, right? New eye. It's looking at the world through a new eye. It's kind of a life story, actually. And since then, the 3 songs from the album are on top 10 net charts on like 3 different websites. and I sang at the bitter end in New York, 3 songs from the album, and what else? I did the only live late night talk show in the city of New York, and I'm looking at going on tour in August. Now, I don't know where I'm going to get the money for it yet, but this is a perfect example. I don't know where I'm going to get the money yet, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Why? Because if I, pardon me for grabbing your words, if I step up, man, if I step up, it'll happen. So I'm finding the people, and I'm finding the venues, and I'm arranging the dates. And if I do all that, and if I believe in it, it'll happen. And that's an important thing too for those of you who are skeptical and giving Momo a bunch of crap about this, is, you know, it stands to reason that you if you don't insist on supporting yourself, right? Why would you ask the world? Why would you ask the world to give you something that you're not willing to give yourself? So when he says, you know, you want to just do it, and you all go, well, shut up, okay? He's right. I want to give you 2 scientific examples of this that I found fascinating. There's a movie out there called What the Bleep. If you haven't seen it, it's a very interesting movie. It's got physicists in it, and I'd actually found about this little aspect of it prior to seeing the movie. But there's a Japanese scientist who's been doing work, and actually you can go to Google and do a search for this. Put in quotes, ice crystals, and then emotions, and see what comes back. This Japanese scientist did a bunch of work with taking microscopic photographs of ice crystals just after they formed. And what he did was he asked people to form an emotion and direct the emotion at this water that he was freezing as he froze it, and then photograph the ice crystals when it was frozen. And here's the remarkable thing: he would ask someone to approach the water with a specific emotional tint of "I hate you," and then photograph the ice crystal, which ended up looking like raw sewage, all just bubbly, swirly. Then he would have someone else walk up to this water, not the same water, different water, with the emotional intent of "I love you." And the ice crystals were glorious. They were like angelic structures. And this directly, and every time he did it, the emotional intent of the person who was focusing it at the water changed the physical structure of the water. So you understand what I'm saying now. Their emotional intent changed the physical structure of water. They didn't walk up and touch it. They walked up and felt towards it. Okay? So now take it one step further. This and this are made of the same thing when you take it down to its smallest ingredient that we can measure scientifically at this point. They are literally made of the same material. The only difference is this has taken one form and this has taken another form.